Ms. Sivigny?
One of the things that I noticed in the third grade information was that we have an average third grade ELA result that's lower than the state averages, I believe. And we also saw in grade 3 math that farms and non-farms both went down this year. So there seems to be maybe something going on in those early elementary grades.
Actually, and Mr. Johnson and I did discuss as the scores came out, of the one area that we could look at and say, you know, we really do need to dig in a little bit, it would be the third grade, particularly the reading scores. Mm-hmm. You know, math is kind of at a plateau, and sort of other people are catching up to us. I think over time that third grade reading has been maybe lagging some of the other performance, and certainly as students work through the system, they begin to achieve higher scores. But third grade reading is something that we often sort of right off the bat, looking at the scores, identified as an area we may need to look at this year.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, because I mean, third grade is such a critical year.
Yep.
In so many ways. So, you know, if we can identify interventions earlier on to help them get off to a better start. And since third grade is the first year that we really measure a PARC or a PARC-like assessment, is there anything that we can measure earlier, or do we measure things earlier to say whether that's a trend or?
Yes, once students in second grade get to a certain reading level, they start taking our comprehension benchmark assessment, and that's predictive for us for PARC. But what I would also say is one of the things we've seen in our third graders is that even when they begin to read on grade level, they're having difficulty answering those comprehension questions in writing completely independently. So we're working with our curriculum, we're working with our teachers to make sure that you know, even though our third grade students might be able to be successful in reading group, reading something on a third grade level and answering a question orally with his or her teacher, that doesn't mean that they're ready to take PARC and ready to answer a question in complete paragraph form the way they need to do on that test. So that's one of the reasons that our second graders, once they get to a certain point, start taking the comprehension benchmark assessment. And it's also something that we're going to be working with for teachers in grades 1 and 2 to really start modeling what a written response should look like, so that it's not all orally based.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would add, each year, I work with Ms. Dale. We work to readjust the standards, to look at our CBA, the expected performance, and to look at the assessments that go on, the local assessments, and say, are we aligned? We do the same thing with math, and each year we have adjusted them. The difficulty is that when you get back into second grade, we don't have the PARC standard to say, hey, we're not lined up. We continue to work to refine it.